Get me pictures of Spider-Man. Sorry, I had to get that out of my system. Old JJJ here is probably one of the best representations of a character out of the Spider-Man set. He suspects Spidey and profits off of it, entirely in the character's wheelhouse. But did you know that JJJ here, he profits off of every one of your menaces that attacks each time they attack? That sounds like a payday to me, and it's certainly a deck that won't cost you an entire paycheck. Let's take a look. I've put together this week's Build Your Own Precon around Jonah here as a $35 build, not counting the ridiculous pre-order price of the commander itself, because that is sure to come down post-set release. I call this Menace to Society, a Menace-themed deck that hits them hard and fast. But this is a mono-red aggro deck that ramps faster than any green deck and has better card advantage than any blue deck. It's important to note that the Spider-Man set doesn't have its own precons, so if you're looking to brew a commander deck from the set, you'll have to do it yourself rather than pick it up off the shelf. This deck is designed to be roughly the same power level as an off-the-shelf precon, as an introductory deck that can be handed to just about anybody and let them have a good time. Our commander does two things: gives a creature we control menace by suspecting it, which also prevents it from blocking, but more importantly, pays us whenever a creature we control with menace attacks. Those two lines of text work well together, but that first line in this brew might as well not exist. Why though, Chris? Isn't it beneficial to give a creature we control menace? And it would be, astute viewer, except in this deck, everything already has menace. That's right, I've included all of the decent red creatures with menace in this deck, from low mana value cards like Insolent Neonate through to big beaters like Ogre Chitterlord. Your opponents will have to dedicate significant resources to stopping your creatures from connecting throughout the entire game. That's what makes this an effective aggro deck in a format that very rarely rewards aggro decks. Your opponents need twice as many creatures to stop themselves from taking damage. And with JJJ at the helm, you benefit from declaring an attack with a menace creature. They don't even have to connect. Imagine, every attack gets you more and more mana to play around with, letting you scale much faster than even green can. Your treasures ramp you and provide you extra value. Professional Facebreaker getting you extra impulse draw with bonus treasures, or Reign of Riches turning the first spell you cast each turn with treasures into free value via Cascade. That's the intersection of synergy in this list. We're menace themed, but turning that into treasure synergies. Get paid, spend our money. It's a win-win. That's why even seemingly poor creatures like Goldhound, Rust Harvester, and Burnout Bastronaut are some of the best in the deck. These little 1-mana menace creatures are the best things that you want to see in your opening hand. Casting a menace creature on turn 1 and turn 2 means dropping J Jonah Jameson on turn 3 immediately pays out 2 treasures on attack. And since your opponents are unlikely to have 2 creatures that early in the game, you can peck in for damage and get paid. On the topic of Burnout Bastronaut, Start Your Engines is great in this deck. All of your creatures have evasion, and means that you're much more likely to reach max speed. So lands like Murugunda Raceway can be very powerful, providing a 2-mana boost by turn 4 a lot of the time. But don't count out cards like Flameblade Adept either. A 1/2 with menace that gets pumped when you cycle or discard a card is fantastic, especially when most of Red's card draw revolves around rummaging, discarding cards to draw cards. This can be a sneaky 5-power creature once in a while. Demand Answers, Big Score, and Thrill of Possibility. These are our on-demand card draw sources, and each of them requires us to discard cards in order to draw cards. Flameblade Adept loves it. Even menace friends like Byway Barterer cross some of these synergies. It inherently has menace and can let us discard our hand to refill on resources. Neat. And Irrelevant Goblin, another little guy with menace, lets us rummage once per turn when our small creatures enter the battlefield, which is so helpful in ensuring that you aren't flooded out with too many uncastable cards in hand. And that is why the land count is a bit higher in the deck. Magic players just can't help discarding land cards, and I want to make sure that we're still going to have enough to cast all of our spells on curve. We have very little ramp outside of treasure generation, so reliably hitting our land drops is a must. Card advantage is critical in this brew because we'll have masses and masses of mana to spend. Each turn we'll be making 3 to 4 bonus treasures with our commander out, and attacking with a Sin Prodder, or Redcap Gutter Dweller, or Ruin Grinder. We need something to spend the extra mana on, so refilling our hands must be a priority in deck building. How about drawing an extra card every turn with Idol of Oblivion? It's as basic as it gets, but there's no way we aren't going to be making at least 1 token each turn, and that's enough to get us good resource longevity. Mask of Memory is another great source of card draw too, since your creatures are evasive and you're much more likely to connect for combat damage. Even drawing 2 and discarding 1 is preferred to having all the treasures in the world and nothing to cast with them. Even Count on Luck makes a great addition in this mono red brew. No problem with the triple red casting cost, as 1 extra card a turn can make the difference between not having anything to cast and being stacked with options. Just be sure to not overcommit to the board. Red lacks a few ways to recover from a board wipe apart from recasting things the hard way. It may be tempting to run out all of our menace creatures at once. Avalanche of Sector 7, Pain Distributor, and Star Athlete are all great, fun cards on their own that return us a treasure when they attack, while Lightning Security Sergeant, Veronica Dissident Scribe, and Breach's Brazen Plunderer all not only pay us, but help us get more and more card advantage to use those treasures on. While Vincent Vengeful Atoner, Goblin Dark Dwellers, and Ogre Chitterlord not only make us money, but help us get more bodies, cast more spells, and deal more damage along the way. There are, of course, very few creatures in the deck without Menace, but they're very strategic and intentional includes. Like Frillscare Mentor. Putting a menace counter on something is cute, but unnecessary in this deck, with the activated ability, though, being the big reason it shines. It puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature with menace you control. That's huge because your entire board is going to have menace. It's an anthem that increases each turn it lives. That is great. Frontier Warmonger gives everything attacking your opponent's menace, which isn't so much to help you give your creatures menace, they all already have it, but to more flavorfully incentivize your opponents to attack each other rather than you. We'll be shields down a lot, so let's point those opponents' attacks elsewhere, yeah? Then there's one of the deck's win cons, Hellkite Tyrant. We'll be making so many artifact tokens, treasure and otherwise, that we could win the game simply by surviving to our upkeep. From my personal playtest with this brew, let me tell you, 25 artifacts is nothing to this deck. It's easy mode. Okay, but what else ends the game in Menace to Society? We can't just be about attacking. Or can we? Here's where we want to look at the overlap between evasive aggro and our treasure synergies. Bloodforged Battle Axe, for instance, is an amazing way to keep getting more and more value out of your creatures being tough to block. Making more tokens to suit up your other evasive creatures gives you a real ability to recover post-board wipe. Imagine a Rust Harvester wearing 6 Bloodforged Battle Axes. That is a real thing that has actually happened. We also want ways to pump our creatures based on our artifacts, like Adaptive Omnitool or Nettlecyst. They're perfect for creating big, menacing threats your opponents must put at least 2 creatures in front of. Eat into their resources repeatedly and threaten their life totals. Speaking of life totals, if everything's evasive, let's suit them up with a Quietus Spike or a Scythe Claw to create a block or lose scenario for our opponents. As we ramp out of control, it's easy to get this in play and equipped faster than some opponents can even drop a second creature. This is also where a creature like Olivia's Attendants comes in, making us artifacts apart from treasures when it deals damage to anything, drowning us in blood, so to speak. These blood tokens can be great to draw us into more gas at instant speed and can be fantastic synergy enablers. But that's also where Depth Shaker Titan comes in. This new addition from Edge of Eternities lets us turn our artifacts into 3/3 melee trample haste creatures on enters, potentially turning into an army of treasures, blood, or junk creatures as surprise 6/6 attackers to take the entire table out with. But that's not all, no. We are in mono red. Why not the occasional extra combat? The new Full Throttle is 6 mana for 2 extra combats, which easily pays for itself when JJJ is out. And with Menace on all of our creatures, it means that you can confidently slowly winnow down your opponent's boards and life totals over and over again. Anything that goes unblocked will be coming at them again next turn. And Grim Reaper Sprint is another fantastic extra combat spell on a budget, in some cases costing just 2 mana and potentially letting you give another freshly cast creature haste to attack in for the second combat. Combined with our commander, this is another way to have combat pay for itself. But my favorite play is Surge to Victory. For 6 mana, you can exile an instant or sorcery from your yard, either something you've previously cast or something that you've pitched to any of our rummage-based card draw, and pump your entire board. Then, when your creatures get through to a player, you can cast a copy of that exiled spell. In one of my playtests of this deck, I cast Surge to Victory on turn 4, exiling Full Throttle, giving all 3 of my creatures +6/+0, and connecting with opponents, since no one had enough blockers to deal with my menacing board. That got me 6 extra combats, and no one could block my attackers. Good game. Now this wouldn't be a build your own precon without a pivot commander, something in the 99 we can shift the deck's focus towards. And here's where I think Vincent Vengeful Atoner is the perfect potential replacement commander. With your evasive army, Vincent will quickly scale up his power with +1/+1 counters, eventually being a kind of Hydra omnivore in the command zone. And there's very little in the 99 that would need to be swapped out too, removing some of the focus on treasures without J Jonah Jameson in the command zone, so your treasure generation is a little less reliable. This means moving towards an equipment focus to reliably increase Vincent's power over 7 as my top recommendation. Out comes Idol of Oblivion and Reign of Riches, and instead we can insert Wrecking Ball Arm, Blackblade Reforged, or even Champion's Helm, all in order to get him to the magic number 7. And because it is Vincent doing the damage on his over 7 power trigger, giving him lifelink with a Basilisk Collar or Shadow Spear means you can stand to gain some ludicrous amounts of life in a mono-red deck. Swapping just 5 to 10 cards from my base list could pivot the deck entirely, making this a much different feeling list, with a very threatening commander rather than a utility commander. Let me know in the comments which version you are more interested in trying out. But as always, I can't make a build your own precon without the upgrade, where I'll let you know what we can do to best spend a few extra dollars to turn this from budget to big time fast. First and foremost, we're in a mono red deck, so getting Ruby Medallion and the Fire Crystal in here ASAP would be ideal. Hazoret's Monument as well, since 30% of the deck is red creatures. These discounting effects help us cast multiple spells each turn and lets us save more and more of our treasures for synergy effects later in the game. To make room for them, cut some of your other mana rocks. These discounters are strictly better than a mana rock if you plan on casting more than one spell each turn. Fire Diamond, Arcane Signet, and even a land are okay to cut for some of these mana efficiency boosting additions. And if we have a Hellkite Tyrant in the deck, I'd like to include Knuckles in the deck too. It's a way to win with a volume of artifacts. He's 30 instead of the Hellkite's 20, but that's still easy enough to achieve. He can replace Frontier Warmonger or Two-Headed Hunter or Star Athlete as some of the less than stellar bodies in the deck. And Knuckles' gloves, aka the Reaver Cleaver, would be a good fit in the treasures-heavy version of this list too, with extra evasion via trample and the ability to create that many treasure tokens when connecting with an opponent. This turns your evasive attackers into moneymakers without even having JJJ in play. I'd cut Bloodforged Battle Axe as a 1-to-1 swap for Reaver Cleaver for an extra boost, though in the Vincent version of the deck, I could see both the Axe and the Cleaver living side by side. Lastly, if we're talking red creatures with Menace and an aggro deck, Ghost Spider Gwen Stacy is a great fit. It's a great way to get some additional reach and sneak some extra damage through while playing into your other synergies in the deck. But let me know what you think. Do you like the design of J Jonah Jameson's card? What do you think of this brew, and what cards would you add to the deck if you are building it on your own? Hit those comments and let me know. And don't leave without checking out my sponsors like Card Conduit. They are hands down the easiest way to sell your individual Magic cards without the hassle of traditional buy listing. They'll get you top dollar while handling all of the heavy lifting, from sorting to grading to optimizing your price across a huge network of vendors, and they'll give you cold hard cash for it. You can use the promo code MECHANIC right now for 10% off of all fees. If you're looking for a new deck box or playmat for any of your favorite Commander decks, make sure to check out Bonebox Games. These strong and gorgeous deck boxes are the only ones I trust to protect my triple-sleeved, all-foil Too Many Gyrudas deck. You can use my code MECHANIC5 for 5% off your order at boneboxgames.com. And while you're there, take a look at their classic Decay deck box, now back in stock. Bonebox Games, gear with a backbone. And if you want to pick up the cards for this list, make sure to go check out Card Trader. Use my promo code MECHANIC right now for 5% off your order from any TCG. Card Trader's zero system means you can get cards from all over the world with only one shipping fee. Save money and time today. Lastly, you can check out all of my decks on MOXFIELD. MOXFIELD is the best deck building platform in the world and makes it easy to build decks and search for specific cards with their powerful tools. Have you checked out their drag and drop feature yet? It's revolutionary. Be sure to check out my brews and follow my profile there right now. If you were inspired to brew today, you have to hit that subscribe button. Check out this other deck on my channel right now for more sweet tech. And as always folks, good luck and have fun.